WHGE 95.3 FM. Coming up, the Open Eye.
Those of us that indulge in or commit intellectual violence don't do so for the pleasure of mental masturbation or ego diddling. We do so because the chains of oppression on people's minds are deep and difficult to remove.
Good morning, my children of the sun. Welcome to the Open Eye on WHGE 95.3 FM. I'm your host, third eye optometrist, Patrice Gibbs, ready to get your eye open. And as we always start, every generation has its purpose. Ours is to reveal the truth and reverse the brainwashing. Hey, do you think Wakanda is just a movie? Okay. And maybe you haven't heard about the Royal Bafokeng Nation, Africa's richest tribe, known for its wealth and visionary community approach. Located in South Africa, the Bafokeng Nation spans 1,000 square kilometers and is home to over 300,000 people across 29 villages, sitting on the world's largest platinum deposit. They took a unique path to prosperity. In the 1800s, their kings began buying back their land bit by bit. By the 1920s, platinum was discovered, and instead of selling the land, they opted for royalties, ensuring a perpetual income. Plus, they founded Royal Bafokeng Holdings and reinvesting their wealth to local infrastructure, education, and healthcare that includes state-of-the-art schools, hospitals, and roads, creating a self-sufficient community. And their constant focus on education ensures world-class schooling for their youth, while supporting local entrepreneurs, fosters economic growth from within. Could this model work elsewhere? Yeah. No. Let me get my disclaimer out the way, y'all. And we'll be right with you. All right. WHGE 95.3 FM.
The views and opinions expressed on Open Eye are those of the hosts, guests, and contributors, and do not reflect the policy or position of WHGE 95.3 FM nor our sponsor, the Delaware Center for Homeless Vets. Any content provided by Open Eye's hosts, guests, or contributors are theirs and are not intended to malign any religion, ethnic group, company, or individual.
WHGE 95.3 FM. Questions warriors standing on higher ground need to ask themselves before beginning conversations should include: what is the purpose and whose politics does the conversation serve? Will it devolve into a meaningless, distractive, endless debate? Okay, let's slow up for a second before we keep going through this. What is the purpose and whose politics does the conversation serve? And will it devolve into a meaningless, distractive, endless debate? Meaningless and distractive. Okay? This is why you shouldn't debate with some people. Don't debate with someone Harriet Tubman would have shot. I'm talking about those Negropeans that are nothing but white supremacists in blackface. And sure as hell, don't debate with some white supremacist who is going to do nothing but stand up there and lie about statistics and try to denigrate black people at every turn. Don't waste your time with that. Is it worth the time relative to the nation building work that needs to be done? Is the other person even capable of listening or comprehending ideals in conflict with the Uruguay's reality? Does listening to you hold any value to them, especially in consideration of the points you, as a servant of the people, will necessarily make? Will it in any way contribute to the liberation, empowerment, and sovereignty of African people? As Dr. Clark teaches us, if it's not a tool of your liberation, it belongs in the ash can. Throw it away. It's from African writer Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. I'm not sure if I'm saying your name right, sister, but I like what you had to say. I am Nigerian because a white man created Nigeria and gave me that identity. I am black because the white man constructed black to be as different as possible from his white. But I was Igbo before the white man came. My point is that only authentic identity, the only authentic identity for the African is the tribe. And listen, those that call yourselves Black Americans, Africans in America, African Americans, remember I told you last week, we have become a tribe unto ourselves. Okay? But that doesn't mean, excuse me, that doesn't mean that we should separate from the larger African family, which is why I'm Pan-Africanist, because I'm raised Pan-Africanist. And we are the most feared tribe by the West and the imperialist powers of Europe and America. Taught you that several times. That's word. Don't get it mixed. All right. Yeah, every season, and I've seen this time and again, you know, someone pointed it out. There were these new stations that pop up and what have you. The first thing they do is they get a bunch of black shows. All right? And then once they get popular and make their money, they kick the black shows to the curb. A lot of these stations I don't bother to watch. Didn't then, don't now. And I'll tell you why. Because I'm tired of gangster roles and slaves and mammies and black power and civil rights movies. I want someone to play Imhotep. It was a rumor floating around the internets that Brian Coogler and what's the brother's name? I can't remember the brother's name. He played Creed, and he played the quote unquote villain in Black Panther. Brian Coogler was the director and this, that, and the other of Black Panther. There's a rumor going around that they were going to make a movie about Mansa Musa. It's just a rumor. And I feel it. And I know people got excited because I want somebody to play Imhotep or Ramses, not Yul Brynner, Queen Tai, Tahaka, the Pharaoh just said, the great Queen Candace, Mansa Musa. You know, let me stop complaining. I tell y'all what, Y'all crowdfunded, I'll write the script. My homie's daughter, I'll give her the shooting. You got another homie, we can get him to direct it. And we'll cast it with my cuz, her brother, and my other cuz will produce. My brother will build the set, and we'll tell our own damn stories. Who's on board? WHGE 95.3 FM. The Open Eye. This is The Open Eye on WHGE 95.3 FM. Yeah, I remember when I was like 13 years old, Saturday afternoon, I went to the corner store. I got my potato chips, I got my popsicle, I got my soda, and I'm gonna watch Wide World of Sports. Yeah, I don't know what's coming on this week, but it's Wide World of Sports. I get to Grandma and Jenny's house. Yeah, I love them. But damn it, they looking at some mess on TV. So I went upstairs. And they announced there was a fight coming on. What? Imagine a fight where the odds are so stacked against one man that even his most loyal supporters fear for his life. This wasn't just any fight. It was the 1974 Rumble in the Jungle in Zaire, where Muhammad Ali faced the seemingly unstoppable George Foreman. Foreman wasn't just a powerful fighter, he was a destroyer, leaving a trail of defeated legends in his wake, including Ken Norton and Joe Frazier. Norton, who had once broken Ali's jaw in a brutal battle, was no match for Foreman. Foreman took him out with terrifying ease. Same went for Frazier, another of Ali's toughest opponents. Foreman had just become a nightmare in the ring. He had 8 consecutive fights that only lasted 2 rounds. The badass. The prospect of Ali stepping into the ring with this juggernaut had even the bravest souls trembling with dread. But Ali was no ordinary fighter. He was a master of mind games, a strategist who could see the fight long before the first bell rang. As the fight approached, Ali found himself surrounded by doubt. His media ally, Howard Cosell, and countless others questioned whether Ali could pull off what seemed like an impossible victory. After all, Foreman had defeated the very men who had given Ali his toughest challenges. The fear was palpable, but Ali thrived on it. Then came the night that would go down in history. Ali didn't just outbox Foreman, he outsmarted him. Using his now famous rope-a-dope strategy, he absorbed Foreman's punishing blows, waiting for the right moment to strike. And strike he did. With grace and precision, Ali took down the seemingly invisible Foreman, not just physically, but mentally as well. Foreman, who had been so dominant, was left questioning himself, a psychological blow from which he never fully recovered in the 1970s. Interestingly, the fight itself was delayed due to a cut that Foreman sustained in training, giving Ali extra time to win over the local crowd in Zaire. By the time the fight finally happened, Ali had the support of an entire nation behind him. Despite every statistic suggesting that Ali couldn't possibly win, he did the unthinkable. This victory didn't just secure the fight, it solidified Ali's legacy as the greatest. Yeah, I remember that. I did not know when they did the rebroadcast on Wide World of Sports that Ali won. And I was sitting there biting my nails. And come the 8th round, Ali knocked him out. Now I was jumping and hooting and hollering so much, grandmama done called me down. WHGE 95.3 FM, the Open Eye. WHGE 95.3 FM. This is Patrice Gibbs, your third eye optometrist. I wish I could show you what I see. Let me tell you something. The U.S. and Western Europe represent an existential threat to global humanity. These folks have made it quite clear they're prepared to blow up the entire world in order to maintain white Western hegemony. And they're clear about that. And that's from a live interview. That's a quote from Ajamu Baraka. From a live interview. Thanks, Sister Tracy, for giving us that quote. All right. Hey, come on in. All right. And you don't think so? Oh, it's the reality. America is a constant state of war and conquest. It really started right after World War II. Or actually before that. But the tentacles spread more globally after World War II. On September 11, 1973, Chile was robbed of its democracy in a CIA-backed coup. See, by that time, America was well experienced at toppling governments and putting the puppets in that they wanted. Military jets actually bombed La Moneda presidential palace in Santiago. President Salvador Allende died in General Augusto Pinochet began a 17-year right-wing dictatorship. A brutal dictatorship. More than 3,000 people were disappeared or killed in anti-communist terrorism, and 38,000 became political prisoners. This was part of Operation Condor, a broader U.S.-led campaign in the global South to eliminate leftist opposition and install U.S.-friendly capitalist regimes. The Bloody Hand, Operation Condor. Operation Condor was a coordinated U.S.-backed attempt to wipe out opposition to dictatorships across South America in the 1970s and 80s. Some 50,000 people are estimated to have been killed or disappeared. In Brazil, 434 to 1,000 people disappeared. In Paraguay, 200 to 400 disappeared. In Bolivia, 116 to 550 disappeared. In Uruguay, 130 to 240 people. In Chile, 8,000 to 10,000 people disappeared. In Argentina, 7,000 to 30,000 people were disappeared. Okay? The U.S. backed right-wing military coups in Latin America. In Cuba in 52, Guatemala in 54, El Salvador in 1980, Honduras in 2009, Nicaragua in the 1980s, Panama in 89, Peru 62 and in 75. In the DR, the Dominican Republic in 65. In Venezuela in 2002. In Bolivia in the 1980s. Paraguay in 1954. Brazil in 1964. Chile in 73. The list goes on, and let us not forget Haiti. 1915 through into the 1930s. Then again in 1959. And then in the 1990s, it just went on and on. I want to say to y'all, if the U.S. will defend itself, why shouldn't those in the global South majority do the same? We only want to be treated equally and left alone. Because being treated equally does not mean a damn thing. After you done robbed and pillaged and stole and did all the dirt that you can, bringing that mindset globally. I've been critical of China's relationship with some African countries. But one thing China hasn't done, which the West is, MO is interfere in those African countries' intra-political status. They just come over and we just want to do business. Who y'all elect is up to you. The U.S. and Europe, the Western powers, have the audacity, the arrogance, the paternal arrogance to think that they should decide what form of government countries have. It has not a damn thing to do with the advancement of those citizens of that country. It has everything to do with whether the corporatists can set up in those countries and enslave the populace. Because that's what it's about. Don't get it mixed. Don't be naive about that. WHGE 95.3 FM. The Open Eye. Patrice Gibbs, third eye optometrist. Here with things, this is election season with things going on the way they are. And one thing that Donald Trump has done is he's given the white supremacists that usually hide behind their mask, or they're gaslighting, their phony cries of oppression, white people are being oppressed. Well, what they want is to be openly racist. Trump said in one of his ramblings, let's take the country back 300 years. 300 years? Do y'all know where we were 300 years ago? 250 years ago? America was just getting started. Our people were in bondage, in chattel slavery. The most brutal slavery in the history of mankind. The most brutal Holocaust not filmed 300 years ago. That's how far back they want to take us. They want to be able to do the things to us that they did on the plantation during the horrific terrorism of the Jim Crow years. I know I've heard people say, as we advance and, new generations come along, that racist mindset. No, that's not going to happen. That racist mindset goes through generations. Prime example. A student at Gettysburg College in southern Pennsylvania has left the school after a campus investigation found the student responsible for etching a racial slur across another student's chest during a social gathering earlier this month. That says it lightly. He didn't take a magic marker and, etch the N-word on his chest. Gettysburg College told NPR on Monday the student was no longer enrolled, but declined to comment on whether the student was expelled or decided to leave, citing student privacy laws. The names of the students involved have also not been made public. Over the past few weeks, the small liberal arts college of some 2,200 students made national headlines as the school announced it was investigating a report of a hate crime. According to the school's website, 62% of its students are white, while 21% are non-international students of color. They keep coming up with these new goddamn terms to say anything but black. Non-international students of color. I mean black people. Nobody colored us, we came this way. Now, the incident occurred on September the 6th during an informal gathering among the men's swim team and on-campus residents, according to statements made by the college and the victim's family. There, a student used a box cutter. He carved the N-word across the student's chest. This was supposed to be his boy. Be careful who you befriend, where you go with these people. The family added that their son was the only person of color at the gathering, and he is the only black person at the gathering. The reprehensible act was committed by a fellow student athlete, someone that the victim considered his friend, who he trusted. The incident was later reported by upperclassmen students from the swim team, and they applauded Gettysburg College President Bob Iliano in an email to the campus community about the situation on Thursday. Iliano added that 2 students had since been suspended from the swim team. On Monday, Jamie Yates, the college chief communications and marketing officer, told NPR the investigation was close to being finished. Once it's closed, the school plans to work with the family about how most constructively to move forward. These conversations already began and will continue. Both parties understand that this process will take time and are committed to working together. You know, the hell with that. It was a hate crime. It was a felonious assault. You took a box cutter, a blade, and carved a racial slur in this boy's chest. The hell out of here, lock them all up. Lock their ass up. That's that. Moving right along. And before I do, I want to say something to my brother in consciousness, Brother Abdul Latif Hameen. I've been quoting you a couple of times. Your insight is remarkable and what have you. The last time I quoted you, I didn't have your name in front of me. You know, I'm bad with names. I apologize if I butchered your name, brother. Headliner. Got this from Brother Hameen. Republican representative goes mask off with racial vile threat to Haitians. As in the headlines, Representative Clay Higgins has taken Donald Trump and J.D. Vance's threat against Haitian immigrants to the next level. Trump has got some of his racist followers, the MAGAites, that come out of the closet with hoods and masks off. I said that earlier. Nearly half of white people in America has always felt the way Trumpites feel towards black people. See how the lie of cat eaters has gone to the next level as the MAGA people now can come out their closet? Now what? No more dog whistles. It will be outright statements like Trump and Vance do that will trigger dangerous actions by MAGAites because of their disdain for others, as been witnessed in Springfield, Ohio. Now, the rumor, the lie that these MAGAites put out there is that these Haitians are a blight on the community that stole their way into Springfield, Ohio. Illegal immigrants that came in and just are damaging the economy, they're taking the jobs, and they're eating the cats. That's not what happened. Over the past few years, many immigrants from Haiti have settled in Springfield, Ohio, drawn by the low cost of living and plentiful jobs. But the pace and volume of the Haitian newcomers has strained local resources, according to some, and stirred some tensions. That's not true. That's not true. It hasn't strained local resources. They've been contributors to the economy. And now, ahead of the presidential election, the city has found itself caught up in a fiery debate over immigration. J.D. Vance, the Republican nominee for vice president, invoked Springfield in July to criticize the Biden administration's border policies. That month, the city's mayor and manager went on cable news program Fox and Friends, calling for assistance to handle an influx that they blamed on the federal government. That's a crop. Then during the presidential debate, the Orange Disaster repeated a debunked claim about Haitians in Springfield abducting and eating household pets. Thousands of new jobs have been created in Springfield thanks to a successful effort by the city's leadership and Chamber of Commerce to attract new business to Springfield, which sits between Columbus and Dayton. Once a manufacturing hub, Springfield saw its economy shrink after factories closed and jobs migrated overseas, encouraged by the capitalists. By about 2015, its population had dwindled to under 60,000 from about 80,000 in the late 1960s and early 70s. Companies that had set up shop, however, confronted a dire labor shortage. Hey, that crap, what was it? That they were putting a strain on the economy. Okay. There were thousands of jobs and nobody to take them. A dire labor shortage. Haitians in Florida, Haiti, and South America heard from friends and family about Springfield and its need for workers. They began arriving to take jobs in warehouses, manufacturing, and the service sector. And employers urged the new workers to encourage other Haitians to join them. What started as a trickle swelled to a surge after the COVID-19 pandemic, coinciding with the deepening political and economic instability in Haiti after the assassination of the president in 2021. Estimates range between 12 and 20,000 according to city officials. They were invited because there was such a labor shortage. So this crap that, and these were some refugees coming in looking for economic opportunities and taken away from, the residents and what have you and the good white people. It's just a crop. The corporations facing a labor shortage invited the Haitians there, and they came there and thrived and became contributing members of the community. Many of the beneficiaries of temporary protected status, a federal designation that gives nationals of a country in crisis, typically after a natural disaster or political upheaval, that upheaval caused by the imperialists in America, the opportunity to remain in the United States legally, regardless of whether they entered the country lawfully or not. And 90% of them did. And if America would stop going around tearing up other countries, and they would stay out of Haiti and leave them the hell alone, then you would have to have people running. And the same thing in Europe, over in Africa, backing military coups and installing puppet governments that do nothing but rip off the nation and what have you. And then they get mad because the dirt and degradation that they left caused the people to flee. And they flee right into the countries of the imperialists that effed up their country to begin with. That's why the Haitians are there. Like I said, they had the need for labor. They had facing a big labor shortage. And the U.S. had been over there and messed up in Haiti so bad, people had to get the hell out of there. Leave people alone. God damn. WHGE 95.3 FM. The open eye. WHGE 95.3 FM, the open eye. You know, it's something how we get distracted. First of all, let me go here because I really don't give a damn about this. Yeah, everybody heard by now that P. Diddy, Sean Combs, the record executive, entrepreneur, gangster, and this, that, and the other is, under federal indictment for sex trafficking and sexual assault and all kind of mess this fool done did. And it's something, as we look at this, and what we see are people waiting for him to rat the rest of them out, to tell on the rest of the celebrities that been in his parties and doing the dirt with him and what they call his freak out parties. And he bought 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricant and what have you. And of course the slimy, dirty Oprah Winfrey has been at his parties, and T.D. Jakes blessed his parties and all that. And that's what people can't wait to see who else they got. What other celebrities? Okay. What's his name? King Bolson. Anyway, one of the things that needs to be looked at is not what celebrities he's riding out, but the slimy old white men who trained P. Diddy, who've been doing this for decades. Let's see if he rat them out. To wind up like Epstein. They just phoned to report a suicide. We running around with these distractions, foolishly arguing over whether Kamala Harris is black or not, Vice President Harris. While the orange disaster is talking about taking us back 300 years and putting us back in chains. Malcolm told us, don't listen to dumbass celebrities like Janet Jackson. And I know some of you say, oh yeah, the bootlicks are coming down on Janet. I ain't no bootlick. And I kick your ass. You come up my face talking about some bootlick. And let us not be distracted. And let's be clear. Okay? I am not advising you to vote for Kamala Harris because she's the end all, be all. But I'm looking at the difference between the two. One is determined to turn back the clock, while the other may maintain the status quo. At least she has stated some policies that we can grasp hold on. I know what you're saying. She don't talk about reparations and what she gonna do for black people, and she's talked some about what she gonna do for black people. But like I said, don't get it mixed. 34 felonies. We have black people running around here that served their time because they committed a felon or made a mistake, that can't even vote. You know, we got this fool with 30 convicted of 34 felonies, waiting sentencing. Okay? With every intention, look what they've already done. They already gutted the Voting Rights Act. Yeah, and I know those of you in voting don't matter and what have you, because they already, look, if voting didn't matter, how many times have I told you this? If voting didn't matter, they wouldn't try so hard to keep you from voting. And they're doing everything they can to cheat the American people out of their choice. Everything they can. Okay, I'm no big fan of Democrats, but they haven't openly declared war on our very existence. What did I tell you about the judges? Marcellus Williams, convicted of a 1998 killing, Alicia Gale, who was stabbed during the burglary of her suburban St. Louis home. And Missouri executed him. They executed him in spite of the family saying, wait, we're not sure. The victim's family said, don't execute him. We'll settle for life imprisonment. The prosecutor said the DNA evidence doesn't support his conviction. Okay? All evidence points to this man being innocent. The governor would not stay his execution. Let me tell you this governor's mindset. I'm going to have to use my board here because I want to say this right out. The governor's mindset, what's this fool's name? Republican Missouri Governor Mike Parson said he hoped the execution brings finality to a case that languished for decades, re-victimizing Miss Gale's family. No juror, nor judge has ever found innocence or found Williams' innocence claim to be credible. This is what the governor of Missouri said, Governor Mike Parson. Let me translate that for you. He said, basically what he said, I don't give a damn what evidence comes forth. We got this nigger and we gonna kill him. And that's it. That's their mindset. Why do you think the largest number of those exonerated are African Americans? Because of that very mindset. Missouri lynched another innocent black man. You know, it was the third time Williams faced execution. And he got reprieves in 2015 and 2017, but his last-ditch efforts this time were futile. Parson and the state Supreme Court rejected his appeals in quick succession. And the U.S. Supreme Court declined to intervene hours before he was put to death. Williams was among death row inmates in 5 states who were scheduled to be put to death in the span of a week, an unusually high number that defies a years-long decline in the use and support of the death penalty in the U.S. The first was carried out Friday in South Carolina. Texas is also slated to execute a prisoner Tuesday evening. Okay? While most countries are outlawing and turning away from the death penalty, goddamn America put an express line to murder people, its own citizens, specifically black citizens. WHGE 95.3 FM, the Open Eye. Patrice Gibbs, your third eye optometrist, bringing you around. All right, let me check that third eye. Remember Tyree Nichols? Tyree Nichols was the brother that was beat to death by the cops. As the federal trial proceeds against the three officers who maintain they're not guilty plea in the Tyree Nichols beating, their own former colleague took the stand against them. His reaction probably shocked everyone watching. Desmond Mills couldn't get through his words without tears following the replay of his body camera footage. At some point during his testimony, Mills tearfully blurted out an apology. I wish I would have stopped the punches. It hurts to watch. It hurts so much inside. It felt bad every time the picture is on the screen to know that I'm part of that. I made his child fatherless. I'm sorry. I know sorry won't bring him back, but I pray his child has everything he needs growing up. He won't have a father. Son of a bitch. Three of the five cops criminally federally charged in Nichols' fatal beating have been on trial this month on criminal charges. Former Memphis police officers Tadarius Bean, Demetrius Haley, Justin Smith entered a not guilty plea, while the remaining two ex-cops, Mills and Emmett Martin, pleaded guilty. These were all black men, black cops. Beat that brother down. Now you get I'm sorry. And no respect for you or your apology. Because knowing that you're only apologizing because you got caught, if you had got away with this, you wouldn't have thought nothing of the murder that you committed, the brutal murder. You know what it takes to beat somebody to death? How brutal that is? And Trump wants to give cops immunity across the board. I heard this white cop say, if we get rid of qualified immunity, what you're doing, what you're exposing police officers to is lawsuits when we do our job. If I walk in and rough somebody up, now all of a sudden, my agency determines or the county determines I was out of line or that I followed, I'll see if they can show me. Now I'm at risk of losing what I tried to build, my house, my car, my money, my bank account. And he went on to ask, so what incentives do cops have to respond to calls anymore? So what he's basically saying is, if I get a call and I can't come and whoop your ass, And what incentive do I have to respond to calls if, I can't commit violence on people? Ain't that what it's about? If they're going to let you out and frankly, you're going to make me viable civilly, basically what he's saying is, if I have to have accountability for my actions, what incentive is it to be a cop? You can't name a career where that's okay. Most people won't have a job. A lot of people will be charged criminally. He's saying a cop should not be charged, should not be held accountable, or found in any wrongdoing if he comes and commits violence on people. This is the reality. This is what we're up against. You have to remember where they come from. The slave patrols. And that mindset is so whether the cop is black or white. If you're black, you're black. You're just a black face in white supremacy. Those fire cops that beat Tyree Nichols to death. How many times I've told you? They got on that uniform, don't give their pigmentation no consideration. This is from Dear Black Officer. I'm just going to give you the last couple of lines of that. A black officer, are you really fighting crime or a rich man's war? Do you feel the same anger when you get followed in their store? Black officer, how long will you participate in the oppression of your own? So when you sat up there after you participated in murdering that brother, is blatant Jim Crow policy making a comeback in America? The Civil Rights Act of 1964 outlawed segregation in stores, restaurants, theaters, and public places in general. However, because of vehement white resistance, it took years after the act was signed for many of these places to actually desegregate. Some never really did. And don't get it mixed. We still got sundown towns across America. And many white-owned businesses that did desegregate and are still openly hostile to black customers. 54 years after the Civil Rights Act was signed, there's a concerted effort by resentful 54 years. A concerted effort by resentful white racists to maintain Jim Crow policies. Okay? How many times have the cops been called? I can remember Starbucks. The cops were called 2 minutes after two black men entered the shop. Remember the one Waffle House calls the cops on a young black lady for asking for utensils? You gave her the food, what you wanted to eat it with her fingers? And the cop showed up, brutalized the young lady, and arrested her. Another Waffle House locked its doors, will only let white customers in, telling black people to show up, they closed. Sammy Subs hires a white manager whose first act is to fire all black employees. And when any black customers attempt to enter the sub shop, this new manager meets them at the door and informs them that their kind are not welcome. You didn't only have to tell me once that I ain't spending my money with you any goddamn way. A group of black women golfers Presence on the golf course prompted whites playing behind them. They'll call the cops because they were playing too slow. Actually, it was the mere presence of these black women that irritated and motivated them white people to call the cops. And that's it in a nutshell. The mere presence of black people is enough to make some white people react with anything from blatant hostility to outright violence. The reaction by irritated whites can lead them to call the cops, which of course can get a black person killed, or motivate hostile whites to commit violence. Case in point, a young high school freshman asked whites where his new school was located and was answered with gunfire. So obviously the current practice for white people who feel so uncomfortable with black people is to react violently, or to call the cops, who will show up and arrest or kill the black people who had the audacity to make white people uncomfortable. Jim Crow could get you killed then, and James Crow can get you killed now. After all, this is the American way. WHGE 95.3 FM, the Open Eye. And as we always tell you, destiny determines who enters your life, but you decide who stays. Therefore, value those who value you, and don't treat those as a priority who treat you as an option. Thanks for joining us on Open Eye. I'm Patrice Gibbs. Hey, Jaru. Catch me on the rebroadcast. Same thing there, Sister Lorraine. All right. It's Patrice Gibbs. As I always tell you, global African supremacy. Because the world was a much better place when the black man ruled. Peace.